Alright folks, how's it going? I'm out on a bimble on my own today. Supposed to be meeting up with Barney. Unfortunately Barney's come down with a cold. He told me that it wasn't anything to do with COVID or anything like that, but it's kind of hit him. It's kind of ironic really. He sort of said he's been working from home and had a cold or anything for sort of like 18 months, and then has to go back on the trains, and he cops one. So anyway, there it is. He's got an interview on Tuesday, so wish him luck for that, and hopefully see him out whenever. So it looks like I'm on a solo overnighter. So I've just been playing around putting up the first part of Mac's shelter for those people that are interested. It's quite a rigid little setup really. I'm quite impressed with the head height, it's not bad. The length, you know, bearing in mind that I'm quite a long guy, quite tall. I mean that's quite good. I think what I would do is obviously have something in the middle there. I mean you could put a stick, but I don't really like that idea. But maybe just to have a piece of tape on the outside to pull it out a bit more, just to give you a little bit more space. So that's just on this bit, and then I'm going to see what happens. It looks like it's fretted in rain, and probably what I'll do is I'll set up the other bit. Obviously, well, I'll see what it's like on its own, and then whether the rain starts coming in too much, and if it does, I'll set up the other part maybe as some sort of baker style setup, or just drape it down at the front. But first impressions, I mean, I'm quite liking it actually. Just that, you know, there's no real sort of specs gone into this. He's really, you know, he's probably just used his Mark 1 eyeball and just come out with what he's come out with. Anyway, let's have a brew, eh? I actually had to put a light on. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's very dark in here at the minute. But there's I'll put the second part of the shelter up. This gives you even more space. Just thinking what I might do. I think because it's only myself here today and overnight, I might just use my little stove rather than having a proper fire. That'll probably do actually. Splitting down some pine. Knotty at the bottom. Just cut myself up some pine for fuel for the stove. And as you do, camp routine. Kind of liking it really, this shelter. Unfortunately when Mac buys the material, and I understand it only comes in a set sort of length and width. Sorry, not a length, but obviously in the width. Now I think obviously if you were going to construct, you know, Mac just does all his stuff, you know, at home on his sewing machine, but I suppose the difficulty is obviously getting the material wide enough to have it, like for example a 3x3 or a 4x whatever, you know. But with Mac he would have to seam it in the middle, and really you know, when you think about it, it's the seams that are the weakest point. So obviously with the other option that he's gone is obviously just to utilise the width of the material. This is my understanding, my fractured knowledge, because I'm not, but the idea of them having the second part where he can then, where he's thought about it and had it so that it can, obviously you can use it as a porch area, but then also he's got about an inch, you know, about sort of what, 2-3 inches at the back there where it overlaps, and then it goes over the back of the shelter. So you've hopefully not got any, unless, you know, there's a real prevailing weather condition with the wind or something where it comes in from this way, you know, blah blah blah. It should be pretty watertight, and obviously quite windproof as well, within reason. I won't be using it on the top of Everest, would I? But you know, for sort of like a woodland environment like I'm in now, I mean, I think it's quite an ideal kit. Now, you know, Mac he ain't going to be making tons of these and selling them. He's literally just let me have a go at this one, which I felt quite obliged to do, really. And for Isaac, and so yeah, I'm quite liking it so far. I think just having this bit would be lovely for sort of like a dry summertime, or you know, winter, autumn, whatever. And then obviously having the add-on would be great for sort of like when the conditions are obviously a bit wet like they are now. I've still got the leaf canopy there, so it is kind of keeping a lot of the keeping some of the rain off. But obviously I wanted to try out both components. Obviously there's a little bit of more extra sort of, you know, pegging it out and guy lining it out and all that sort of stuff. But on the whole, it's you know, it's not a bad bit. I like it. I mean, you know, if people watched the last video, they would have seen how small it packs down to when you compared to both sheets. And I'm not knocking the ponchos because I love the ponchos, but the ponchos, unfortunately, it's a poncho at the end of the day, and then to use it as a shelter, yeah, it's okay for maybe an emergency shelter, and maybe it's okay for people that are shorter in height to use as a kind of everyday shelter to camp out under. But for someone like myself, you know, I'm quite tall and I do struggle with it a little bit, and I'm more of a straight sleeper on my side. I can't really sleep with my legs scrunched up, so for me I kind of like the length, which unfortunately, you know, me and Mac were talking about it the weekend. It's almost like if the ponchos were just maybe another sort of 6 or 7 inches longer and wider all the way around, then it'd be ideal. It will sort of, you know, it'll accommodate most people that are of taller height, as it were. But yeah, anyway, so I've just sort of run out my meths that's in the burner, and now I'm going to use the fuel. I made a decision to just use the I think I might just use my stove rather than make a ground fire. Now, folks, if you're interested, I'm selling these on my Etsy store. They are just basically just you know, they're just a fire pad, something that I've coated in a particular flammable material, in a makeup pad, and they will light with a ferro rod. But I'm just using my lighter. Alright, believe me if you like. Oh, he says. And they'll burn for quite a significant amount of time. So I've just feathered up some, or shaved up some pine. Still a bit damp. Oh. Ooh. Cup on the go. I don't know if you've noticed as well, the observant ones, but I've actually attached a piece of cable, metal wire, to the actual cup now. This is my Pathfinder one, and the reason why I've done that is just saves me carrying out the fish opener hooks as well. I know I can put it on the bottle and all the rest of it, but I've got a toggle if I want to use that. You know, it's not too massive in length. I've got it just enough for it to be able to use it to suspend over the fire and stuff like that. Barney, this one's for you, son. I'm having a cup of tea, mate. Obviously because you can't get out, because you're not feeling too good weather-wise. So I'm having a cup of the old tea, mate. Alright, a cup of the old Darjeeling tea. Well, it's not even Darjeeling, it's just the jam on toast one. which is really nice. I like it. Some wood, some manageable chunks for the stove, doing it all now so it saves me doing it later. Them chunks in as they are. I'm using a bit of ash, the pine I've used just to burn because it burns nice and bright because of the resin. But I want something that's not going to stick too much as well, because I have got the stove literally just set up on the edge of the Mac's shelter. I don't want to damage it. Just cutting it up. A nice ample amount of wood to be getting on with. Obviously keeping it under the shelter, keep it dry. And then I've got some spare pine and 2 lengths of ash to use. My toolage for this overnighter. So obviously the, if you don't know, this is the Nomad by Ben Alford. Obviously always on my hip. The Gone Boy, that's the Silky Outback version, and then my wildlife hatchet, which I've trusty companion for a long time now, as you can see, because it's quite it's well worn and used. And little tip for you, I suppose. Don't know whether people like putting tape on it, but I've got a little bit of electrical tape and green tape there. You often hear of people losing their axe head covers, sheaves, whatever you want to call them. So I suppose one advantage of this is that it sticks out a little bit more because of the colours, rather than just having it brown. And people do lose them, so little tip for you if you want. vortex. I mean, ideally you want to be obviously taking the pith out of it and then allowing it to dry before you actually make anything, because if you start making string out of it now, when it does dry out it tends to shrink, and then all the cordage, all your hard work becomes unravelled. But for sort of just the sort of just for vanity really, I'm just going to make a little bit of cord to go on the that little chopping board that I've made out of sycamore, just so that I can use it for later when I prepare my dinner. So I'm literally just going to go straight in the middle with it now, twist it round. There we go. Oh, Mearsy does this, doesn't he? Probably where I got the idea from. But he uses a bit of chestnut bark, doesn't he, I think, rather than nettle cordage. I've just got to find a way to get through that little loop. Can't see how important it is to record that with you, I think. Imagine having to put a tarp up with nettle cordage. Flipping Ada. Alright, there we go. Do you want it? Cursed it. Probably one of them times when I'm actually glad of the rain, because the only other water source that I've got is a cattle trough, as I say, up the way there. It's about half a mile, that sort of distance, and it's just inconvenience I think. So I've just done a Nalgene bottle of water, so I'm actually hoping that it trickles off a bit more so that I can at least get some off the poncho. I've got my soil filter on this occasion to obviously run the water through that, and then I've got more water then. I mean, I've still got another one in there, and maybe it is a little bit of laziness, but sort of just taking advantage of the rain while you can. It's actually surprising that the leaf canopy is keeping a lot of the rain off. And I'm only getting droplets at the moment, and then the water's coming down in kind of like a flurry. And I'm sort of just trying to direct the bottle, trying to take advantage of the water, of the rain as it were. So I think I'll just let it do its, I'll just leave it there and let it do its own thing. And I think I may have found it. That'll do. So I'll leave that fill up now. The material, water and that's being lovely. So what I've done is I've just put a stick in the ground now, pull the guy line down a bit, so obviously it directs the water a bit more into my bottle. So it pulls the tarp down at one corner and then get a bit more runoff into my bottle. So I'm having a spot lunch. Got one of those ration packs in there, one of the meatballs and spaghetti pasta, really nice, one and quite wholesome. So I'm going to have that for my lunch. Looks like it's kind of stopped raining, the sun's trying to break through the cloud, which is good. And I'll crack on with something else. I've sort of like just been sitting under this shelter really, and just chilling out. I just feel like I keep need to be doing something. It's mad, isn't it? I made a chopping board earlier, and obviously the little mallet. But yeah, I'm just sitting here chilling out. Yeah, I just feel I need to be doing something else. So I'll crack on with something else in a short while once I've had this food. Didn't seem to get a lot of water off the runoff from the shelter, from the shelter. So I'm going to have to take my water easy. I've only got my balanced void bottle at the moment, left with water. I did use a little drop that I collected off the tarp that I've put in there, but or shelter rather. But anyway. I do like these. A nice sort of wholesome meal really, quite tasty and rich. That's what I'm doing there now. With that pouch I'm burning it down till all that's left is the foil. Then I'll scrunch the foil up and I'll put it in a rubbish bag and take that home with me. Cauterise all the food, and, well, not that there's much left in the bag but or in the pouch, but just as I say, kill off all the crap in it, and then I can pack the foil away and take it out with me tomorrow. So all the plastic's come off the foil now, so I can scrunch that up into a tiny little ball and that can go in my rubbish bag tomorrow. What I've done while I've just been sitting around, got a piece of, there's a bit of sycamore down there that I'd cut up for a bit of a stump. So what I thought I'd do is I'd knock up a little rocket stove. So I'm just in the process now of using some cord. To tie it all together, using a bit of hawser string so I can sort of double up the strands off of one leaf. Sometimes it comes off okay, that time it don't. There we go. So I can use the one strand now. Just try it all off. It's raining again. It's got dark. I want to put the light on. Great fun to make these. What's great about these, because once you're sort of finished with them, you literally just throw them back to nature or carry it with you. You can actually carry it as a fire as well. But, I mean, I made one once before, and what I literally did when I finished with it, I had my brew with it, and then I cooked some lunch, and not far from where I set up there was a puddle, and what I did was once I'd finished having my brew and I did my lunch, what I'd done was I actually split it open so that it was on its side, and I literally just laid all the bits out, put my little trivet on top, cooked my lunch, and then what I'd noticed that when I'd finished and I went to throw it away in a puddle to douse it out, when I looked back over to where it was, there was no fire scar. So literally the embers and everything, there was enough heat off it to obviously cook my breakfast or my lunch as it were, and you know, literally pick the bits up, throw them in a puddle and then throw them back to nature, and yeah, it did the job. So I'll fire up that bad boy in a little while, and should be alright. It's quite dry inside, nice bit of sycamore, it's a light wood anyway. I have got a video up showing you how to make these. I've got a couple of them actually. I'll stick a card up with one of them so you can go and have a look. I think it's probably one of my... it's funny, but I'm actually spending a lot of time under the tarp at the moment. So I'm kind of doing little crafts from here. I've got a couple of bits of wood here from a bit of sycamore that I split off to make the chopping board this morning. I want to see if I can split it across there and maybe make a little butter knife, and with that one, who knows, I might have a go at a spoon this afternoon, so there'll be quite a bit of carving in this video, I suppose. I always carry a little pouch simply with cordage in it, you know, just for crafting jobs really. So I've got some purple string there, I've even got some wire, some bank line, and obviously the hawser laid stuff, which is quite handy for little projects like that. Obviously burns well as well, the old hawser laid stuff. And then I'll just keep my sharpening, a little sharpening stone, my DC4 and the Leatherman in there as well. Dave Fry's little pouches. It just keeps it all together for such little projects. So I'm just trying to tidy up this bit of this sycamore, which I'm going to make a little butter knife. so we can lose some of that when we shape it. And draw it on. Right, let's see what we're shaping up a bit of pine. Make yourself a pencil. What I'll do, I'll stick that in the fire now. Let it heat up so it can burn it, and then I can use that as my scribe. I'll left that one for a few seconds. How do I want to shape it? I suppose it matters too much. Oh, probably could have been on there a bit longer. Alright, number 2. I'll be looking at obviously getting rid of all that and shaping up that a bit. Well, let's see how it comes out. I just use my Nomad to batten it, obviously because it's only thin. I mean, I'm not smacking for a massive chunk. Take some of the meat off. Obviously I'm not going to keep it flat there, I'm going to make it a bit more to a blunt point. But we'll do that in a minute. We'll just do the rest of the meat. Get the curve of the handle. I think butter knives are just as good to practice your skills with than a spoon. I think sometimes with a spoon it can be a little bit, some people find it a bit daunting. I know I did in the beginning. I was always breaking handles and stuff, making the handles too thin and all the rest of it. But I think with a butter knife, it's quite probably the most technical bit really is getting the, you know, if you want a little bit of a curve between your blade and your handle. You know, folks, I mean, don't people start having a pop about me cutting towards myself and stuff like that with the knife. You probably can't see it that well in the angle, but I'm always conscious of my follow through, where my hands are and stuff like that, and my first aid kit is there as well for such eventualities. And as you say, you're going to pick up your knife, then you pick up your first aid kit, or at least a roll of insulating tape or something. So I'll come back in a minute. So let's get in there. But there you go, a bit rough and ready. Little work, nice kind of small butter knife. Could thin it out there a bit more, I suppose. But you kind of get the picture. There you go. I'll carry on now off camera for this last bit. And here's the finished result. That'll do. Three useful items, I suppose, camp items. Rocket stove, chopping board and a butter knife. If you've got any butter or jam or anything like that you want to spread. Certainly no flint napper, even though I have made bits and pieces, but you know, I can start off with a rock like that and end up with a shard, you know what I mean, that I can make something into an arrowhead or something. But it just amazes me. Like, I mean, I found some bits of flint and I really am just tapping them off each other. It just amazes you how sharp it is, you know. It's just remarkably sharp. I mean, I'm probably teaching people to suck heads here. All these little shards though. I mean, you know, if you was out without a knife, more often than not, especially in this area, if you find a tree that's been wind blown, normally at the bottom you find, normally in the bottom of there you find sort of something that resembles a flint of some kind that you can, you know, make some kind of or at least give you a little bit of a head start if you've got nothing at all. Yeah, I mean, even just a little shard like that, you know, it's just remarkably sharp. I mean, if you were to sort of mount that into a piece of wood, you know, that would give you some sort of cutting tour even as it is, you know. Yeah, I've just chucked a bit there now, so look at that. Now we kind of underestimate, you know, look at that. Water there in this, isn't there? You can't treat it like a normal knife, like something that's metal. But certainly cutting into that okay. Excuse me. You know, even by just cutting a deeper groove in there, you know, you almost got a primitive hand axe. No, you haven't. You know, you've got, you know, something that. You know, let's try it out on this bit of material of these old gloves. Oh, it's coming out of there. But look how, you know, that cuts so well. You get the picture. I'm certainly no primitive tool expert, that's for sure. Mind you, I'm no expert at anything. Got people like Will Lord in this country that are the experts on it, you know, in the UK. You know, make that into some resin or something like that. Even if you split it and put it in there, we've bound it with maybe a little bit of nettle or something like that. Now there's buggered. Not literally, but you know, I mean, even something like that would be alright, wouldn't it? You know. I might go with that. Look at me getting all what I was aiming to do was I had some slithers and I was going to put the slithers in now. Put your glasses on, son, you'll be able to see. And the idea was to put them in there. Totally fractured. I've got no knowledge of this whatsoever, only from pictures. God. Let's put that back in there again. Just acts as a wedge. Right, another couple here, really skinny ones. Oh, see, I've got gloves on. I ain't doing it without gloves. Just take that out there. Now, could that be a little primitive blade? Who knows? You know, I mean, flipping it. Use a bit of cord here. Bit of cord, bit of nettle. And I'm literally just gonna if I could clovage that. See if I do it that way. Put it in there like that. Oh. Might be a bit easier if I just put it in there. Around a little bit more. And use that as just some sort of wedge just to keep the nettles in place. You know, folks, you know, I'm no expert on this stuff. I certainly want to be playing around with it a bit more, I think, but that'll make a good a knife, wouldn't it? And my other thought, I suppose, would be to dull up one of these sides and then maybe wrap nettle around that and use that as your blade. Oh, bloody hell. Nasty bit of work, wouldn't it? Just get my fingers away from that. Earlier on I said I wasn't going to make a fire on the ground, I was just going to use the my stove. But I've changed my mind. I'm going to just a bit of fire. Not nothing too mega, just enough. Oh. Starts up. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? Enough for me just to fire for later. I'll cook my dinner on it rather than just using the stove. I don't want it too big because obviously water's a premium as well, unless we're going to get more rain. I'll have an issue extinguishing it in the morning, so I'd rather just use the stove, use something small. I've got all these bits of wood, so I might as well just take advantage of it. There's enough heat there anyway, even though I'm putting all these clumpy bits on. Do. Voila. Right, this is my carving kit. I'm bringing that with me. Flexi cut's alright. but the actual arms on them and that are a hell of a lot shorter. It could do with being a bit longer. Well, I'm going to run out of memory card. Lucky enough I bought a second one. I've done so much videoing today, just taking bits and pieces. There's only about 10 minutes left on this card. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to take this home and finish it off at home in my good old shed. It's a little bit of work to do there, but that'll do for now. I'll do the rest off camera and at home. Well, the SD card's nearly up, so I'm going to stop it there and change the first time ever, change the SD card over. So it's that time of day, eh? I can enjoy an alcoholic beverage. Cheers. So the bed's laid out. Tonight I'm just in a Helicon swag man. My usual inflatable mat. Seat summit pillow and then the wrap ground sheet. So that's my bed space for tonight. I've only got 2 cans of beer. I've already had one. It was like chucking it down the sink. So I've got another one now, and that's it. And to top it all, I've only got 1 Rizzler left as well. Didn't think that one through very well, did I? Bloody hell. That's a chopping board. Right. Noodles sticking out of the way. Second roll. It's the longest can of beer ever. Take my time with this one. Right, I'm off, folks. So it's a bit of a long video. I've had to cut it short. I've had a phone call off my wife, so I'm going home. Alright, so no worries, it'll still be a long video. I hope you enjoy it, and see you on the next one. Laters.